On Aliens, we wanted one of the aliens to be cut in half by the Queen, you see. And he's on the floor, waving around. In actual fact, we did it over the tank, cut a hole, and he just stood up. The floor's here, and then you just saw the entrails of a pig or something like in front, and you just think it's his body. Sure. But that's being ingenious, thinking that. These days it'd be all sorts of other things, I would think.
Not bad for a human.
Well, I was actually working with Peter Lamont quite a bit, and Peter, we didn't have a lot of money to pay for it for the film, and we are now following something like Alien, not Aliens, Alien. And Jim Cameron was there, and he said, I said to him, made a big mistake and said, we're doing the sequel, Aliens, you know, and he said to me, no, this is a James Cameron film, it's Aliens, nothing to do with the Ridley Scott one. But Jim is a very precise man, as I was saying before. He wanted to do all of it himself. We also knew a lot of the atmosphere that it had to continue. And it was, in that particular case, was a very dark thing. It's incredible how you adapt yourselves to it. You do design your own thing, but you've got to still continue with the thing of the darkness and all that sort of. The thing is, when Jim Cameron said what he wanted to do, you knew it wasn't a continuation, if you like. It was a completely different sort of cast and everything else, apart from the lovely Sigourney Weaver. That film was full of things like we had the atmosphere plant, you know, where Sigourney Weaver with the guns going down those tunnels, all those corridors and things. We did a cutout of the shape of it, right? And we used pallets for the floor, which were all fretted, so you could light underneath. So we knew we could put lights underneath to give that sort of look. And we put lots of little traps where we could put lights. You know, we talked to the cameraman, of course, and making sure that it would work. And of course, it's now down to them. They enhance it more. We had the inside of an APC where they were all driving. Jim Cameron wanted a 16-axle personnel carrier, but wanted the wheels to crab and all that sort of thing. Well, I'd just come back from New York, and I was sitting in the blister of a jumbo jet, and I saw another jumbo jet being pulled by what now I know was called a tug. I saw it moving wheels like this, you see, the front and the back and all that. I said, well, that's going to work. And of course it was very much like a cab went up and down, and what I was interested in was the wheels turning. We told Jim Cameron, and Jim said, no good for me, it's too short. So I said, well, go and look at it at British Airways. Jim came and looked at it. He sat in it and said he'd have a drive, which he would do. He was gone for 2.5 hours, going round and round and up and down and all that. And then he says, I think that'd be great. But of course the engine's right there, so we had to do a trick where we put a dummy door on the front, because if you open the door, you've got the engine in it, you see. So that's where they were supposed to get in. So it was shot in a way that the door opened and you saw them walking towards it. But of course, it was just a set piece. It's just nice working those sort of things out. We had the drop ship, all the feet that came down, that was ex-jumbo jet wheel undercarriage. But instead of putting wheels on, we put skids on. The medical area, that was very much us, and the cameraman, we show him an example of how the lights were, you see, and then he might say, well, we need a lot of those lights in there to see them in the screen. And so we would get these very futuristic lights put up there. And it used to be very much, if you sort of all angle points, the very modern types, or uplighters or downlighters and things. And you said, but so long as you let the cameraman know what you're doing, I mean, he knows how to say, if you look at that light there and you want that lit, he says, okay, so you want to see it lit, but he might have a pup up there with a snoop there, just so, do you see what I mean? So it's just that's being lit. We were called here at Pinewood on a Saturday, and they wanted to save £250,000 off the budget, and we only had 3 sets left. And I suggested the only way to do it is to cut a set out, because that's £250,000 to build that set, so if you want to save it, you do that. What do we do about that scene then? Well, you put it into one of the old sets and rewrite it, you see. Well, that's a good idea. The 20th Century Fox was there. Jim Cameron came into the office, and Gail said, "Oh, we've saved £250,000 off the budget." Really? Oh, how did you do that? Well, Terry said, and he immediately looked at me like that with his big blue eyes and said, "What did you say?" "Jim, you can't take a pipe out and think you're saving 250,000. You've got to be broad strokes." "Want a pint then, down the pub?" And he said yes. And it was perfectly all right. But then he did say to me, what do I have to do now? So I said, "But you have to rewrite it." You had 2 different things with special effects. Now you get visual effects, which is computer-aided stuff, which for me, it doesn't feel real, some of the stuff, you see. And when it works, if they get it right, it's very good. But if they get it wrong, it's very bad.
Meow?
Physical effects, that means the practical side of things, blowing a wall out, putting rain and all that sort of thing.
Reach minimum safe distance.
When we did Power Loader, it was designed, as it were, of what it was going to look like, but then the special effects built it, engineered it with all the hydraulics to do the right thing, and then just clad over what they put in. And of course, the one big thing that was a problem, it was too heavy. Obviously, it's not practical, but there was a stunt man in the back of it, but it was very effective, of course.